Are excited to learn the 3 steps to generate consistent high ticket clients. We're going to dive in. I'm excited to be talking about this topic because I know this is absolutely necessary for us to figure this out, especially the high ticket price, because a lot of people out there are just charging minimal prices, which is fine, but they do it because they think that nobody else can afford it typically, right? Nobody else can afford that high ticket price, or they think like they have this stuff around money maybe, which is totally normal because depending on how you grew up, maybe you grew up thinking, charging that much would be really selfish or something, right? Like there's always something going on around money, and it might be that you're totally fine with a high ticket price, but you're just not sure how to enroll others into it, right? Maybe you're out there investing in a bunch of high ticket coaching for yourself, but then when it comes to charging a high ticket yourself, you might be thinking like, oh, I can't charge that much. I'm fine to spend $10,000 on myself, but I only want to charge 2,000 because maybe there's like a worthiness thing going on. There's all kinds of reasons why people don't charge a high ticket price. So I want to talk about the 3 steps, okay, today, to generating consistent high ticket clients. And we're not going to dive too much into like the limiting beliefs around it. That's not really what we're going to talk about here. We're going to be talking about more practical stuff, okay? So there's times when we get stuck in business and we want a little bit more consistency when we look at our sales. And, that's what most of us got into business for, right? Was because we wanted mainly time freedom is what I hear a lot. A lot of people do want the money freedom, of course. But not everybody's about that. Some people are like, I want to make a big impact, but you still need to make money in order to keep going, in order to pay the bills, right? In order to have that time freedom, because you're going to need to maybe hire some people or pay for platforms in order to have that time freedom, right? Like you need money for your business to keep going. So no matter what it is, right? You need money. And then most of us get into business because we want that flexibility. We want that time freedom to be able to have time for self-care, so we can be our best selves for others, so we can take care of our children, so we can travel. There's all kinds of different reasons, right? Or maybe even to help more people, to go deeper with other people. So whatever reason it is for you, it's all good. All right. So, and sure, clients might be signing up, and the money's coming in for some of you, right? But you might feel like that is just not enough, right? And you can do better. So there's that too. And if you're charging hours for dollars type of model, like $100 an hour or something like that, and you want to be making 10,000 a month or more, right? Again, it's a lot harder to hit that $10,000 goal charging $100 an hour, doing an hourly rate, working one-on-one with someone, because we only have so much time in the day, right? Versus if you're charging, like, say, $5,000, $3,000, $10,000, right? If you're charging $10,000, you only need one client per month to hit 10,000, right? If you're charging 5,000, you need 2, 3,000, right? So it kind of makes sense. But a lot of people don't do it because of like the stuff I was saying before. There might be limiting beliefs, or they're just not really sure how to do it. So anyway, let's dive in. Okay. So number 1, consistently grow your audience with the right people. Okay. So not just anyone and everyone, right? So you can't expect to scale your business if you're always selling to the same people, but you also need the right people in there. You got to have quality people. So when you look at your audience, like if you look at your email list, your Facebook group, or wherever they're at, and there's no movement there, then you got to do something about that, right? So 2 things to consider. There's paid marketing, the paid marketing route to grow it that way, right? And paid marketing, well, and then there's organic marketing, and I'll break those 2 down. So paid marketing, right? Pretty self-explanatory to some, but some of you might not understand the difference. So paid marketing is like ads, right? Like you're going to pay Facebook or YouTube or whatever platform you're going to, Google, you pay for ads. But what happens a lot, I see, is some people might go out there and not realize exactly how to do it to get the quality leads, first of all, right? Because Facebook teaches you how to get cheap clicks, okay? They don't teach you how to get quality leads. So if you've been out there and you've actually paid for ads, then and not gotten the results you were kind of looking for, I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? Because Like I'm a Facebook ads, I would consider myself a Facebook ads expert, right? So, and I'm sure it would apply to YouTube. I'm sure it would apply to LinkedIn or wherever else you're paying for ads, right? And Google ads. There's a lot of the same things that you need to know. But you don't have to be advertising everywhere and anywhere. If it's going to work one place, it'll work everywhere else. Anyway, I'm not going to get into too much detail there. But what goes into paid ads, right? You need a budget, first of all. So if you're just starting out and you don't have any sales, then it's hard to go right into paid ads, right? You're going to need to do the organic first to get a few sales coming in, and then you can use that money to put it towards your paid ads. And so, like I was saying, like paid ads, it consists of like there's positioning, there's how to choose the right image, there's the copy, like the exact words that you need to use in your messaging in order to land and attract the right people, right? There's retargeting, and then there's tracking too. So how do you know they're even working? And how do you know how much a quality lead would cost based on your specific niche, right? Because that's going to be different for everybody. Somebody who's in the healthcare industry is going to be different than someone who's got a business offer, who's going to be different to someone who's doing something else, right? Like it's going to depend on the niche too, because when you're doing ads, you're bidding. It's like an auction. You're auctioning for that lead against other businesses. So if you don't even know how much a typical one lead would cost, right? Like for example, maybe, I'll just throw a number out there. Like for, let's say a quality lead might cost $60, let's say, okay? And let's say your whole budget was only $60. Well, and you got one call booked out of that, right? So then if you only got the one call booked, and let's say your closing abilities, right? Like let's say you're like a really good closer, or like closing meaning like enrolling people into your program once you've got them in front of you, talking to them, right? Whether it be on the phone or wherever. Typically a good percentage would be 20%, a 20% closing rate, we would call it, right? So if you only have one call booked and you spent $60 and there's a 20% closing rate and you didn't enroll that person, maybe they were a good fit, maybe they weren't. Let's say they were a good fit, but you still didn't enroll them, right? Like that, it's hard to gauge just on that one lead, right? But let's say you get 10 calls booked and each one costs $60, that's a $600 budget, right? The 20%, that's two people out of the 10, right? That you would enroll, right? And then that's good. That's actually a good ratio depending on what it is, right? So I'm just pulling this out of thin air. Like some leads might cost $150. So if you only spent $60 and you didn't get anybody booked, and you're like, this Facebook ads don't work for me, right? They might have been great ads, but because the spend wasn't enough, so many different factors that go into it, right? So anyway, I mean, I could go on and on about paid ads, but you really do need a budget, and you also need to know all the specifics of what goes into it and the tracking and everything to know that it's actually working or not working. Like there's a lot that goes into paid advertising, right? But before you drive any traffic through paid advertising, you need to make sure that your whole system are set up, because you got to capture those, right? If you're going to be spending $60 or $100 per lead or whatever it is, even $20 per lead, right? You want to make sure that you have the systems in place before you start spending that money so that you can get them into like enrolling them so that you can keep feeding it. Does that make sense? So I know that's kind of a lot and I've kind of gone off track, but back to the organic then, right? Most people, they start with the organic, and there's a way to do that effectively as well so that you can create that budget, right? You start doing it organically so that you can get a few sales in that way, and then use that budget to put towards the paid. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. But there's a way to do the organic. It's just a little bit more time consuming than the paid, because with the paid, it just, you can set up pretty much everything automatic. Okay, so whichever one you focus on though, the important part is the growing, right? Back to what I was originally talking about. So growing with the right people. So getting those quality leads in. It doesn't matter if you have millions of followers online, right? If they're the wrong fit, or if they're not ready to take action and they're just there for the free stuff, then you can't sell them, right? You can't sell to them. They're not ready. They're not the right fit, right? So do not put out content that is so vague that it will attract all sorts of people, right? Like a lot of people like to put quotes and stuff like that, which is nice and it's motivating and stuff, but it's not really, it doesn't have any strategy behind it. It doesn't have any like, okay, these specific words are going to resonate in order to get them into enrolling with you, right? Like it's just a quote and it's just kind of filling up space. And a lot of people think, oh, well, at least I'm top of mind, but top of mind for what, you know? So anyway, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work that way. It is just filling up space and it might be motivating and stuff like that, but it doesn't really make any kind of impact on enrolling people into what you have to offer, which is where you make your big impact with people, right? So anyway, if you're putting out the right content that's really specific, that's really targeted, using the exact words that would really resonate with your ideal client, then, and that they're, you know, and the people who are action takers and they're the people who are ready to go, like to just go all in and take the steps to get them from where they want to be, from where they are to where they want to be. The ones that are ready to solve the problem, right, that you help solve, those are the ones that are going to be more inclined to invest in you, right? Make sense? I know it's kind of common sense, but it's like, okay, well, how do you do that, right? And a lot goes into that. Like figuring out the right words to use, like that are going to be really resonating, right? First, you got to get into the psychology, and that's what I walk my clients through. Is we get really deep into the psychology of who they're targeting, so that we know what words. Like I wish I could just be like, oh yeah, over this next Facebook Live, these are the exact words you need to use, but everybody's different. Everybody has a different niche. You're different, right? You have different knowledge, wisdom, experience, that also is going to create that authentic message that is really going to resonate with the people that you ideally want to work with, right? So you can't just say, yeah, use these words and you're good, right? Like there's a strategy to it. There's a way to figure it out, but it just takes time, right? It's very specific and tailored to what you want to create. So anyway, number two, okay. So number one is make sure you're growing your audience with the right people. Number two, you know, now that you're growing your audience, how do you actually turn them into clients, right? So creating that content that brings people in. And again, this is something I teach my clients in greater detail, like I just talked about, but consider what is going to be more sustainable for you, okay, and would allow more profit for you. So do things that would allow you to consistently show up for your clients, right? Make them feel that they just gotta have what you're serving because it's just too good to pass up, okay? Build your success story, okay? And show up with that high level of energy and confidence that tells people that, you know, that you're ready and able to help them succeed, right? And sometimes we have a little bit of imposter syndrome kind of creep up, especially if we've been at this for a while and we're not getting those sales coming in. Sometimes we can start to question ourselves, like, is it me? Like, what's wrong with me? Or why am I not getting these sales? And a lot of us are like teaching what we're actually, what's not working too. You know, and that can happen a lot too. I get on the phone with a lot of people and they're like, and I say, well, what's not working? You know, or we uncover what's not working. And then I said, okay, well, what do you teach? And it's almost parallel. It's almost the same thing. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense. Now, like, how's that affecting your confidence, right? If you're out there teaching something to people and it's not working for you first, oh my gosh, then how does that affect you, right? Like it does start affecting your confidence, but it's not you, right? It's just there's a missing piece there somewhere, right? There's a missing piece in the puzzle because there's so many different ingredients, and to set it all up in the right order so that it actually works is what it is, right? So if you don't know what you don't know, and then you keep spinning your wheels, like trying to figure it out or throwing stuff up on the wall to see what sticks and nothing works, then it's like, right? So you just having that clarity, right? And then embodying that success that they want to achieve, and you'll definitely get them to pay attention. Okay. And also present your content in a way that shows people that this is part and parcel of a bigger picture. Okay. that there's a solid strategy behind what you're talking about. So for example, in my case, I always refer back to my program, right? The Fast Track to Money Blueprint, I call it. And it's got the strategy track and the soul track. So it's kind of a two-way street, and I've combined it, right? Because I don't know, I'm not even going to get into that because I can go off on that. And then we get way off subject. So I want to keep it tight here. But I have my fast track to blueprint, and while I may be giving you all these valuable pieces of content here, right, and on these Facebook lives week after week after week, those are just pieces. Those are just pieces of the puzzle, right? Like today, I'm talking about this one section of my blueprint, but at the same time, I'm emphasizing that there's more to the process that I'm teaching, right? That I teach my clients who enroll in the program, like baking a cake. Okay, I use this analogy all the time. So when you start a business, there's so many different pieces to the puzzle. There's so many different parts, right? And it's the same as like baking a cake. There's so many different ingredients. There's so many different parts. And then you have to follow a recipe to make sure that you do it in the right order, right? Because if you put that icing on the cake and then put it in the oven and then put the eggs, it's not going to turn out like gross, right? So same with any type of business. There's so many different pieces of the puzzle, and I get calls from people all the time that have sometimes a lot of the pieces. I just had someone sign up yesterday. She's got tons of the pieces, but there's something missing, and there's something maybe that she's done out of order, but we don't know until we've gone through and plugged it all in. We can figure out what's missing and what's out of order so that it actually starts working. Okay, does that make sense? So there's just a lot of components, like I said, and a lot of people go out and they sign up with and they do these like DIY things with other coaches to learn pieces of the puzzle. So like they might learn how to do, they might get a little bit of mindset, or they might learn how to do funnels, or they might learn how to do to narrow down in their niche, or they might get their program together, right? Those are all pieces of the puzzle. Those are all ingredients. But then bringing it all together, there's like a recipe, right? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So you want to create demand for your offer with every piece of content that you create, okay? And there's like so many different versions out there of what you're doing, right? Out there right now. So always giving a glimpse of your unique point of view. And what I mean by that is, I'll use myself as an example again. So, and kind of back to what I was just talking about, there's all these other coaches out there that are doing pieces to the puzzle, right? And they're giving people little pieces. And then people are calling me like, it's not working. I've been at this for 2 years and I've got this piece and I've got that piece. And why isn't it working for me? And, I get a sale here, I get a sale there, but it's so frustrating. And so overwhelming because there's all this information, and it gets really confusing, right? It gets overwhelming. So what I do is it's not like a do it yourself thing, and it's not a done for you thing. It's right in the middle. It's a do it with you thing, right? It's like, let's take all those pieces, or if you don't have anything, let's start from scratch, is fine too, and we can create all the pieces along the way. But it's like, let's take those pieces together and organize them. So we start with like the first week, and make sure that we have like this really solid foundation, and make sure that we're operating from an empire mindset versus an employee mindset, because we don't want to create a job for ourselves, right? We're creating a business that's going to scale. And then we take the information from the first week, and we used it in the second week, and we build it, and then we take all that information and all that data, and we add it to the third week, and it just builds out over 8 weeks. So then by the end of 8 weeks, you've got this like beautiful business set up, which is really cool, and it's very solid and scales from, right? So anyway, that's my unique point of view. So what's your unique point of view, right? Start thinking about that and start talking about that. Okay, so let's move on to number 3. I think that's good for number 2. And if you have any questions, hey Leslie, just check in the comments. If you've got any questions, just put them in the comments here. Either if you're here with me live, put them in the comments. Even if you're watching it on the replay, you can put it in the comments, and I can get back to you on it. Okay. So hold on, I'm going to take another sip of water. Okay. So number three, the final step, okay, is to evaluate your call to action, your CTA, okay, and the system that you have in place to get people to actually buy from you, right? Again, one thing to get likes and followers and all that kind of stuff. Like, I don't know, you don't really need that many to tell you the truth. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of likes and followers, and then you've got credibility and stuff like that. And it's fine. I mean, to get if that's what you really want, but there's nothing wrong with having credibility for sure. But again, you don't need it to make sales, right? When I first started out, I did, what was that? I think it was 12,000 in the first 6 weeks, right? And I didn't have any likes or followers. I think I had 3 people in my Facebook group when I started, right? But it was like the system, and it was all set up so that it was automated and people were finding me and calling me, and it was amazing. So anyway, back to number three. I keep going off on these tangents. The final step to evaluate, again, is your CTA. So sometimes we don't invite people to take action. We're out there, posting all this content, but we don't actually invite them to take action. And sometimes the CTA becomes repetitive too. So make your audience realize why you? Why you? And why now? Right? And why them? Why did they need to start working with you now? Okay, so connect with your audience, like connect with their wants and their needs. And then from there, you can invite them to take action towards their desired outcome. Okay, it's all about the outcome. It really doesn't have anything to do with you, believe it or not. Like, it doesn't matter if you've got certifications or, all these things, all these credentials and stuff like that. It's not, people don't really care about that. What they care about are the results. And I've talked about this in other lives. But you also need to have that simple system in place that takes them from being a stranger to a paying client. And this can happen very quickly, within 24 to 48 hours. They can be a complete stranger. You can have total credibility, stand out against the competition, and get them onto the phone with you and enroll them in less than 24 to 48 hours if you've got these systems in place that I'm talking about. Okay, and this is the other thing I teach my clients to do. Automate their process so that they can have that time freedom, right, as they run their business. Because again, we didn't get into this to create a job for ourselves, right? And that's what most people do. Because I mean, how would you know? That's our whole society is built on teaching you how to be a worker. So everybody goes and creates jobs for themselves. But no, no, no. We want time freedom. We want flexibility from our schedule so that it allows us to do what we really love to do, right? And so whether that's create more things, whether that's, helping more people, like I said, having time for self-care so that you can be your best self, so that you can serve more people, so that you can spend more time with your family, whatever it is for you. The whole point is having that time freedom. Yes, it's great to make a ton of money and you can help a lot of people that way too, but if you don't have the time to enjoy it, what's the point, really, right? So if you're constantly, growing the right audience, and then you're creating that content that is getting them to pay close attention to what you have to say, okay, and you invite them in to take action based on their needs, and what they want, and the results that you can get for them, then you're on your way to consistently generating premium clients who would be willing to pay you between $3,000 and $10,000 for what you are offering, whatever service you're offering, okay? Doesn't matter. There's a way to figure it out. And that's another thing that I work with my clients too. There's a way to know what to charge, right? So if you're just charging because you looked around at the competition and figured, oh, if I do it a little bit less, then they'll come with me. That's not the way to figure it out. It has all to do with them and what they'd be eager to pay. And there's a way to figure out that based on data. And when you've got that clarity around what they'd be willing to pay, right? Between 3 and 10,000 typically, because there's a way to create enough value that they would be willing to pay that. So then you can do the research, you can do, there's like exercises I have my clients go through so that they can determine that price. Okay. And just having that knowing, having that certainty, having that clarity that that's what they'd be eager to pay, right? Again, it gives you that confidence when you go to say how much it is, right? Otherwise, if you're just like, yeah, it's $1,200, and you've just pulled it out of thin air, you don't really know why you're charging $1,200, but if you know, right, that they'd be willing to pay it because you've done all the stuff to know, right? And you're confident about the price and you're confident about the value you're offering, right? Because it's such an irresistible offer, and then how to position it in such a way and communicate the value in such a way that people are just like, oh my God, that's it? It's only $5,000, right? There's a way to do that. And it's just a quick shift of perspective, really, right? Once you know that. So anyway, just imagine like if you had that knowing behind your price, if you really knew like, yeah, this is what it's worth. This is what I charge. Like there's just no question about it. And this is what people are willing to pay for it. Do you think you could charge that? And do you think you could hit your financial goal that much quicker? Type yes if you think that, right? So if you were clear on how to do that, like it just not, the price isn't determined by bits and pieces out of thin air, right? Like there's a way to determine based on specific data, um, to determine that price. Anyway, okay, enough about that. So anyway, if you want to know more about this process, okay, I just took you through, right? It's like basically a 4-step process. You post something that really deeply resonates with your ideal client, okay? That leads them into an automated, valuable, free offer that positions you as the go-to against the competition. It provides tons of value for somebody, and then also gets them onto a call. And then once they're on that call, just knowing exactly what to say to enroll them into that premium rate, into a sale, that's the process. Like it's very simple 4-step process. It's not easy to set up. I'm not going to lie. It's not easy, but it's simple. Okay. And it can take 8 to 12 weeks to just really get it going. So if you want to know more about that and how that can work for you, or if you're feeling like, I've got all these different pieces, I just don't know how to organize them in the right order. There's got to be something, like I'm so close, but I just don't know what. It's like up here in your blind spot. Then just type systems in the comments below, and either myself or one of my team will reach out to you and give you some next steps. We can either point you in the direction of some training, or hop on a call and we can go deep into what's really working, what's not working in your business, so that you can gain some clarity on, put a game plan together to get you to what you really want to do instead of spinning your wheels around and around in circles, right? So anyway, we'd be happy to do that for you. It's a free call, 45-minute session to just get you really clear. We call it a breakthrough session because a lot of people have a lot of breakthroughs on it. But yeah, just type system below and we'll reach out to you. So hopefully that was really helpful. Let me just double check. We don't have any questions in the comments. Doesn't look like it. So very cool. I'm here every Thursday at 3 p.m. on Pacific time. Okay, so 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time in my business growth blueprint group, high ticket services that sell. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that was really helpful, and hop on next Thursday if you'd like. And I'm just trying to find the end button here. There it is. Okay, awesome. So I hope you got a lot out of that, and I hopefully will see you next week. All right, take care, guys.